Hey guy, okay, this is sort of like a take two. I tried to make a video. I actually had an hour long video, and then it just didn't process properly, and then I just lost all my files. So that's fun. I get to record all this again, but that's fine because it actually gives me a refresher of why I like this deck so much. But this is my new Robin deck. There's been some new tech floating around Japan. I'll be honest, this deck list was made before, like this deck list and the gameplay that you're gonna see. This was made before OP09 released, so metas have changed over time. I understand that, um, but this is sort of the deck list I want to go with Robin because I think it has a little bit of everything. It has your first turn curve, it has your second turn curve, it has boss bodies, it has weird jank. So I really like it, but you recognize that like most of the cards here are the same as before. We got the Banished Zoro. There's a little bit less, and I'll explain why. There's the Robin, your Oharas, Egnami, Onami. We've changed up some cards. We added more 2Ks. We added Bedge and Double Finger. We added Ace and Yamato as our big bodies. I'll be honest, after OP09 launched in Japan, I think Shanks and Blackbeard are top tier, but I think Dofi's better than Blackbeard, so you're going to be seeing Dofi and Shanks a lot more often on the sim, and I'm assuming when it comes in the West. So I'm actually more comfortable playing Yamato and Ace just because, the Blackbeard effect isn't going to be that much of a threat unless you go to a big regionals. At that point, yeah, you're going to want to you want to switch things up for Blackbeard. But that's besides the point. We've changed our boss bodies. We've decreased Bonnie and Dereshi. I know I've said these two cards are good, but with what we're doing with this deck, we're only ramping once because we are hyper ramping. And I'll be honest, I just haven't found use for these two cards. They're good if you have at the right time, but like most of the time, I'm just not playing this out, or I'm not playing this out. Like most of the time, this is for the Robin ability when we're trashing a trigger, or just Egnami when we're trashing a trigger. Also, that's what we're using this card for, Miss All Sunday. You'll notice that we're using some of the Baroque work core. Only 3 cards. We have Bon Clay, Sunday, and Double Finger. I'll be honest, Double Finger, it's literally just a 2K. I never play this card. It's a 4-4K. Not that powerful, but 2K is powerful. And it has a trigger, so that means it's searchable by Clover and Dereshi. Sunday, Miss All Sunday, same vein. There is no counter, which does suck, but it is searchable by Clover and Dereshi, which is great for Nami or leader effect. Also, if you don't have like a play, then like Robin just like Sunday is just a good play because it bumps you up to 6 if you don't have anything else to do. Which will rarely happen, but it's there just in case. This card is the more important card. This is sort of what enables the hyper ramping that I'm talking about. So this covers for your second curve, because if we're going first, our curve is the same thing as we discussed before. The Banished Zoro and the Nico Robin, the Trash Life Robin. I will say you're not going to hit this card as much just because there's less and we're not running Law Searcher. It does suck. I do like this card. I think it's great in this deck, but the way we've adjusted this deck, we don't need this card all that often just because we want to go second. First of all, because that gives us more cards. Again, Robin struggles with cards, and she also struggles with going second. This is what happens when you go second. So you go on your 2-Dawn turn, whatever. You play Clover, maybe. You search out something. It doesn't matter. You search out something. The 4-Dawn turn is what's important because this is where the hyper ramp comes in. You play out Bon Clay, right? You're mulling for this card. This is one of the most important cards in the deck. So you play out Bon Clay, you get 1 Dawn. So you're at 5, you swing for 6, and then you trash any other trigger. Ideally, Robin, Bonnie, Dereshi, or even Egnami. Those are the cards I would trash first for leader ability. And then we're at 6. Keep in mind, this is our 4-Dawn turn. So your opponent's next turn, they're going to be at 5. And our next turn, we're going to be at 8. What do we get at 8? We get Douglas Bullet at 8. This card is cracked. I've always wanted to add this deck. Like when Robin first came out, any purple deck, I'm trying to find a way to use this card, and I think this card works super well in Robin just because of the hyper ramp capability, but also a pretty nasty combo we hit. It's pretty nasty, but I'll talk about it a little later. But look at the ability, -4 Dawn. Rest up to 2 characters, rest up to 2 opponent characters with a cost of 6 or less. So we're resting the 6-drop Sanjis. Those are like the main big blocker people are playing nowadays, because I think other blockers are like 5 cost or less. There is Blackbeard, but Blackbeard is just Blackbeard. That I mean, it just kind of sucks. Honestly, like if they play Blackbeard, like Douglas Bullet is probably not going to be playing, or is not going to be swinging anyways. So it is what it is. And then after 8, we have access to Yamato and Ace, which again are healing cards. So I don't think with this deck list, we're not afraid to go down to like 2 or even 1 life, just because we're going to be healing anyways, and we're hyper ramping. So, you know, it's just more cards in our hands. So this deck, we're not really struggling with cards. There is a Robin ditto. There's like a Robin best of 2 ditto that I do, and it is kind of rough on the cards. It is kind of rough on the cards, but that's just how the Robin ditto is going to go. Anyways, you are gaining life, so that is just more cards in your hands. So that's pretty good. Now here's the main combo I want to talk about. A Douglas Bullet. Remember, so what's it called? So at 4 Dawn, we're going to 6 Dawn, and then the next turn we're at 8 Dawn. So we play out this card. So we're at 8 Dawn, and the opponent's at 5 Dawn. Then our next turn we're at 10 Dawn, and then they'll be at 7. Sorry. Yes, this is a target to Red Rock. That is a threat, especially with blue sort of coming back into the meta. But honestly, I kind of don't mind if he gets Red Rocked, just because that's 6 out of 7 Dawn that they're using, and then they only have like a 6k swing or whatever's on board, which is probably going to be empty at this point. So yeah, it's kind of like a wasted turn if they play Red Rock. And then the next turn, like we still have access to Yamato and Ace, so it's not like, and like again, Red Rock isn't available for Yamato or Ace, so that's just a bigger body that they have to worry about. But here's the combo I want to focus on. So while they're at 7 Dawn, even if they have blockers actually, what we do is you play this card, Onami, onto Douglas Bullets, and then you do -4 Dawn. Yes, it does kind of suck that we're trashing active Dawn, but that's sort of like the price you have to pay. Unless you just like do a swing with leader first, that is a viable strat that, now I think about it, I don't think I did, but I think I should do it in the future. Anyways, that's me going off on a tangent. You play out Onami to banish onto Bullets, and then you do -4 Dawn. So then you're going to -2 use Dawn. So you're going to be at 6 Dawn. You can swing 10k double banish, 11k double banish. That's incredibly difficult to counter out. They're going to lose hand, or they're going to just lose 2 life, and they can't do anything about it. And then whatever else you have on board, whether it be, like, you still have Bon Clay on board. Remember that. We still played this guy the previous turn. You don't need to swing with him if there's no, like, good target on board. But if there is, like, you double banish with Bullet, and then you just swing high with Bon Clay, and then you have, like, another leader swing. Albeit this one's probably going to be low, but, like, still, that's 3 meaty swings, and 2 of them are banish, which is crazy, because remember, this is your 4th, this is turn 4. So you're at 10 Dawn, and they're just at 7 Dawn. So, like, that Douglas Bullet, if they don't have anything to wipe it, or to, like, immediately get rid of it, it's gonna stay there for, like, a while, because it's an 8 cost 10k body. 10k is very hard to invest in, especially when you're trying to build board. So you're just applying pressure everywhere, and then the banish is just like a cherry on top. So I think this card is amazing in this deck. I'm so glad that, like, someone sort of figured out to use these cards in tandem. And even so, like, even if we don't hit Bullet, like, we still have other threats. We have, like, a mid-game threat with Zoro and Robin, and we also have top-end threats with Ace and Yamato. And then we have all the classic triggers. You know, it's a yellow deck. You know, there are going to be triggers. I'm not really complaining. Other colors have their own jank. Yellow has their own jank. It is what it is. But yeah, the Douglas Bullet double banish, that is a real thing, and it's amazing when you hit it. We hit it a couple times, I believe. But yeah, I have some games lined up for you. I actually have a lot of games lined up for you. We have a Reiju, a Nico Robin best of 2, and then we have a Dofi best of 3. So a lot of matches, a lot of gameplay to go through. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first match is a Reiju. So I will be honest, this Reiju kind of did a little bit of BM. I'd advise everybody to just like, you know, be polite. Like it's a game that everyone's trying to enjoy. Don't be an asshole on the sim. But anyways, so we had a choice to mull. We have 2 Bonclays. That's kind of hard to mull because it's not searchable. And then we top deck a Bonclay, which is crazy. Like I even type in LOL my hand. That's a crazy hand. We get the Nami trigger, but there's nothing on board to actually trigger off of, which kind of sucks. But here, we see the hyper ramp playing out the Bonclay, and then ramping again with the Dereshi, another ramp card. Okay, so he's using, I believe, a stage effect, yep, to do a little bit of searching. He plays out the Ichiji, then just swings into leader. That's fine. I believe we counter out of the Reiju swing. We can counter out with the Bonclays, just because we have way too many. So I want to counter out one of the swings because I want to counter out the leader swing because I don't mind taking the Ichiji hits. It just kind of sucks. Now look at this screen. Look at this screen. There's a lot of paths we can go here. Like we see they're at 4 life, they're losing hand size, and we're at 8 dawn, I believe. No Douglas Bullet, so that's unfortunate. But there are multiple lines we could do. We could do like a big swing with leader. We could do like a 7k swing into leader, or honestly we could do a 5k swing into leader, banish, get a card out of their hand. We could play Onami onto Bonclay, copy the Ichiji, and then swing to leader for banish. And then after whichever swing, we can play the Nico Robin to trash another life, and then we're both at 2. Or we could just do the classic of playing out the Zoro, and then threaten the Robin on the 3 life. I believe I go with the more conservative play with the Zoro, but that was a thought in my mind when I was playing this. Yep, so we're going to do an empty swing. Empty swing tells me... Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot. There's another option we can do. Obviously, we can remove board, which is... I'm remembering it now, but I actually think that's what I do, just because I don't want this Ichiji to get swings in on me. We're just going to get rid of it. I actually think that's the more smarter play, just because they don't have a lot of hand size, so it's fine. Like, we kind of don't get value out of the Bonclay in terms of getting the leader down, but we do wipe board and establish the Banish Zoro, so that's good. So he does stage search once again, as Reiju does. And this is the weird thing about Reiju, like you can already tell they're not really hitting because they're trashing out judges. I think they've already trashed 2 judges, which tells me that they actually have a judge in hand, like a 3rd one, or they're just like doing some soul searching, because it is pretty rough. 8k to lead, I don't think we... I'm weird if I counter out of this, because that is a high swing. We need to give up 2ks, we don't give it up. Black Maria is a good play. Black Maria is a good play, just because it gets them back up to judge percent, is what I'm calling it. So we can play the ace, get an extra life, you know, sort of establish some momentum in the game a little. We thread in hand, so 5k banish, like we want to get a card out of their hand. We can play the Zoro, which we do, 7k, they banish that. And I believe we ace here, because 1 life, 1 versus 3 life is very rough. We get a life and then we rush again. They're obviously going to take that hit, because they don't have counter, or... you know, it's a card that's not getting banished. So that's the weird thing against Robin. Like, you want to... it's almost like you want to take the swings from the board because they're not banished. Because, you know, they're going to swing big with leader. So yeah, they play out the kid. They swing high into our lead. This is something I'd actually think about countering out of, just because our Nico Robin, it no longer has any value, just because they're at 2 life now from the Zoro swing. So we're going to counter out of it. Yeah, I would do that again. And here there's, again, multiple avenues we could go. They obviously refill their hand with Reiju. If we swing in 7k with Zoro, that's an easy counter because the kid bumps them up to 6. For the Bon Clay, I'd imagine you copy the kid and then you just swing to life. You swing to ace, you swing with ace, and then you play out another ace. You see me like sort of counting my cards, seeing my options. Because the banish onto the Bon Clay is an option. That's always going to be an option to banish Bon Clay, then just then just copy the kid. Or we could just do like that, just raw swing, nothing special. You're getting the card anyways. I'd say you 100% take the swing, but then at the same time, there is a threat of the ace on board. We're already shading ace with Tendon, so, you know, they know it's coming. Like, by this point, if we're not adding Dawn to characters, they know another ace is coming, so it's kind of rough. Also, this is what I mean by sort of BMing on the sim. Just, like, taking your time to, like, you know, to take damage. Like, there's no need. You either have the counter or you don't. But yeah, we can't swing with leader because they're at 6k. We have 3 life and a board. It's kind of rough. Okay, so they do a stage search. They trust Ichiji to stage search. For something like this, we take. We're fine with taking because, you know, they need X amount of swings and we're getting cards. We still have a lot of life, even if they play Judge or if they play Ichiji. Like, I'm sure we're able to count out of 1 or 2, and by that point, Actually, now that I think about it, it might be a little rough, just because the kid constantly pumps up Reiju up. So if he does have the 2 Ichijis in hand, I'd assume they would have played that already to knock down the ace and get rid of the ace. But they haven't done that, so I think I'm relatively safe during these last few swings. When he swings. Okay, so he's adding like a lot of Dawn onto kid. Again, that tells me he doesn't have the Ichiji. He just wants to get rid of my board, which is fine. If he swings into the ace, like, I'm probably going to counter out of that. That's an easy counter. If he swings to Zoro, I think we 100% give up the Zoro. No need to give up all that counter. Again, he has room for 1 Ichiji up here, because Ichiji is technically a 4-Dawn character. So we have to keep in mind of that. He's going to swing into ace, -1 Dawn. I think we both learned something there, like -1 Dawn, your attack actually goes down. I don't think he knew that, and honestly we didn't know that either. And then Reiju's just gonna swing again. We don't need to counter, but we do. But we do. And then we just do a big swing into, big swing with ace into leader. There's no way he has counter for that. And even if he did, we have 2 more swings here. Like, I'll be honest, like, I guess the better play would be to leave a Dawn for leader, just so we're at 6k so we can do a swing leader. But 20k is pretty big. That's going to dump most of his hand. And then we have 2 other big swings that are difficult to counter out of. So at that point, it's GG's. I think he was stalling a little here. I think it was like a 50-second stall. Just thinking about his options, if he had any options. But at this point, I think it's like GG's here. Yeah, you can see me writing like, everything alright? Like, should I leave? I mean, are you still at the computer? But yeah, sometimes that's how it is on the sim. You get people like this, but that's fine. Just take your time. Yeah, they counter everything, and yep, that's it. That is our end game screen. So again, you see even though the Bon Clay died, you saw the value in it. Like, we copied some big bodies and swung into leader, which ultimately let us build this board because they wanted to get rid of board instead of leader life. Bon Clay is going to be a threat. Unfortunately, no Douglas bullets, but we are going to see him in the next round. I think we do 2 rounds with Nico Robin. So yeah, that's a fun ditto. So yeah, next one. Okay, so this is our best of 2 with Robin. I think I was expecting to just play 1 round, but then he wanted a Thug Finals, so, you know, I'm always down with the Thug Finals. Thug Finals is just like, after the game is over, they're just like, running back. That's just what I call it. I don't know why I call it that, but yeah. Let's look at our starting hand. We top deck the Yamato. We start with a Bon Clay, which is pretty good. We top deck the Yamato, which is an endgame piece. And we have cards to trash for leader effect. Um, so normally we take the first life. I think I explained this in the previous Robin Ditto. Normally we take the first life just because we want cards in our hand and we want triggers. But just because they're banishing, it's kind of weird because you want to counter out of those. Anyways, we're going to play out the Bon Clay. We're going to hyper ramp. We are losing cards. They have 6 cards, we have 4 cards. The hand disparity, it's starting to look sour, but you'll see in a bit that like it starts to balance out just because of the pressure we're adding to the board. So the reason why they have more cards than us is because their first move was to play Dereshi on their 3-Don turn instead of swinging 8s. This is why I'm not really a fan of Dereshi sometimes, because it's just so expensive. Like, I get that like you get 2 cards, but at the same time, like, you're not threatening their life, which is their life / their resources. You're not really concerned about your resources. You're more concerned about how many resources they have, and then you play off of that. So I would still swing 8k in that situation. And now they play the Nico Robin on the field. So this is a classic, like, swing 7 with lead. Sorry for pausing it again. I just wanted to point this out. So just a few seconds ago, I said that they had like 6 cards. But see, look, now the cards have stabilized, like, all of a sudden. Because they play out cards. Like, hand size isn't going to last all that long, especially late game. So you want to spend time building board. Because now they have to trash a life because of Robin, and then they have to trash another life because of the 6 cost Robin, and then the Bon Clay, they copy the Nico Robin to swing. Obviously they counter out of that one. I know it's a card that they get, but at the same time, like, it'll be like 1 life to 3. This is a weird swing in my opinion. The leader swing into the Bon Clay. At that point, I'd actually rather the Nico Robin character to swing in the Bon Clay, and then the leader swing into leader. Because the leader swing into Bon Clay, like, that is like a 100%. Like, sure, you got it. Because you could accomplish the same thing with the 6-drop Robin, and then threaten a card out of hand with the leader swing onto leader. Because in this situation, I actually don't mind taking life, because it's another card I get in hand, and it's another 2k. And we top deck another 2k. So that's great. A lot of Robins on the field. I like it. There was a bit of an oopsie here in my opinion. We could have played the Ohara, but you know, it could have went either way. Play the Ohara on Robin, banish, and then swing into Robin. They take it, they don't take it. It doesn't matter. We get a life with Yamato anyways. So there's that. They play out the ace. There's no rush because they healed. Obviously, we're going to counter out a 6/6. And then we're going to counter out, obviously, the banish swing. We want to keep the Olivias in hand just because they are potential, like, damage boosters. So that's that. So this is funny. Sorry, I almost missed it. So we search with Clover, and then we get the Robin. They healed with Ace. So like, remember, they didn't get rushed with Ace because they healed themselves, but then we trashed that life anyways. I mean, that's just rough. Honestly, that's just rough. Like, I can't really say anything about that. This is a bit of a misplay. Yeah, and you can see me notice it in the chat there. So I have 2 Olivias in hand, and I have 2 swing. So I actually believe I had game here, because what I could have done is I could have pumped up Robin lead by 1. So that's 1 Don onto Robin for 3k. So that's an 8k swing into lead. More than likely, they're not going to have counter. If they do, I don't care. They can counter out, and then I just go for board. And then I go for game next turn. But that's a bit of a misplay going into the Robin. I should have went into the lead. So yeah, we're all learning here. So they take that, and then we go 6k into lead, and then we go 9k into lead. Oh, they play out a Frankie. That's fine. There you go, 9k into lead. They get another card. And now we're in a bit of a weird situation, just because 2 life, but then they have 4 swings, which is kind of nuts. We do have 2 life. One of them is a trigger that draws us a 2k, so that's pretty good. We're sitting pretty with a 2k. Obviously, we counter out the Robin and the Frankie swings because we're gonna get hit by an ace, which is fine. We're gonna give up our last 2k counter. And then we just wildly swing here. So yeah, I think we're fine. I know I typed this in chat because at the moment I was still regretting not playing out Olivia, but it's fine. Like, they don't have enough cards in hand, and even if they do, they're dumping their hand, and I have 3 swings on the board. It really doesn't matter in that case. We just swing like that, and then it's just GG's. Yep. Again, crazy board. We had a lot of pressure with Banish, and the Douglas Bullet is our last life. It would have been crazy if we had this card, just because, again, in that situation when they had 2 life, Douglas Bullet would have wiped it, and then Yamato could have just cleared. So this is the Thug finals. This is also where we get like the crazy Douglas Bullet play. You'll see it at the end. It's pretty wild. But again, look at our starting hand. It's pretty great. Yamato, Bon Clay, and a card to trash for a leader effect. That's probably a very perfect hand, and the top deck for the Douglas Bullet. The only issue with this is that we're going first. He knows that we want to go first now because we played the Bon Clay last time. That's fine. We trashed the All Sunday to ramp. Same plan as before. There are different routes we can go. Like, again, we're at Nico Robin %, where we could just play the Robin and then just empty swing with Robin to get cards out of their hands. But then, yeah, they have a lot of cards. We need a way to get rid of that. This is a strange situation because there is a 2k in my hand, but it is the Olivia. He ramps, of course. We are going to counter out. That's not something I want to counter out of, but you know, we don't want to lose like life all that early. So we're going to empty swing. We're not going to, I don't believe we ramp because we have the Douglas Bullet next turn anyways. And then we play out the Zoro, so a banish character on field. They're going to banish our top life. That's fine. It's another Zoro. And then they're going to swing. At this point, we actually counter out with the Robin and the Bon Clay. I know it kind of sucks to trash those 2 cards, but they're only useful at the beginning because now we're playing big bodies and we're starting to swing high. So I assume he counters out this one. Yeah, he does. Just because 7k banish, you know, you don't want to go that low in life against a Zoro and a big body that we're playing. In this case, it's bullets. And honestly, unless he plays a blocker at this point, I think we just win because we can double attack with bullets and then we can just like mad swing with Robin. That's a route. That's a possible route. So yeah, we just take that. And then here it is. Remember, Douglas Bullet can swing now. Douglas Bullet can swing now. And we top deck Onami. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play out Onami, banish onto the bullets, double attack with bullets. We could do 10, we could do 11. It is technically safer to do 11. That's fine. So double banish, that's rough. He technically, we don't know what's in his hand, but you know, if these were all 2Ks, he could easily counter out of this, but then that opens up us to just clear his board again, and then he just has nothing once again, and then it's just like bleeding hands at that point. But check this out, like that's only if he has like a lot of 2Ks and a lot of counter, which I don't think he does, because at this point in the game, Robin wants to start playing out big bodies. It's just because we did a bit of ramping before her, we made it to the 8-on turn. Sorry, we made it to our boss cards before her. So I'm assuming her hand is just non-counter, because I'm assuming her next turns are going to be like aces and Yamatos. We get the double banish, and that double banish is a Sol. That's wild, in my opinion. That just sucks. And then we just big swing into Robin. Yeah, and I think that's game. Yeah, double banish bullet, that's crazy. That's wild. That's a wild combo, and it does work. It does work. Like, I know we didn't really see the resting effect, but he rests 2 6Ks. Remember that. So even if they play blockers, like, we're resting those. Unless they're like, no, you are resting Basil Hawkins as well, because Basil Hawkins is a 6 cost. So you're resting him as well. So again, crazy combo that you could potentially do with Robin. It's pretty good. Okay, so our last matchups for today is just going to be against a blue Dofi. This, in my opinion, is probably one of the best decks in formats in 09, and I think Japan kind of agrees as well. Not the best starting hand. We did try to mull for the Bonclay. We got second, but we didn't get the Bonclay, which kind of sucks. He's going to do his leader effect from the Perona. He summons a Weevil. We top deck a Bonclay, which is actually super lucky because we get to Hyper Ramp. And we have the Douglas Bullets in hand, ready for the next turn. So, rough start, but it's pretty good. I want to keep as much counter in hand as possible, just because the way Dofi plays is he's going to swarm the board and then just like sort of tickle you. So we want to keep as much counter in hand as possible. So we're going to take the Weevil swing. Again, I want to try and keep as much counter as possible. It's about balancing life and amount of cards you have, because he's going to be swinging a lot with his board. So he's going to be tickling you a lot. So you want to manage your hand size pretty well. It is rough because Robin can get overwhelmed. And I think that's how she struggles into the 09 meta. Which, again, that's fine. She's not a swarm deck. She specializes in other things. We're going to pressure cards out of his hand and then play out the Douglas Bullets. And the great thing about like best of 3s or best of 5s is that you're learning how the opponent is playing. So right now, I don't think he knows the potential of Douglas Bullet in this deck. So I don't think he's going to Red Rock it. I think he has a Red Rock, but I think he's saving it for the bigger bodies. But little did he know, Douglas Bullet, that's the MVP. But obviously his board is way too wide. We don't want to waste Dawn now. Ideally, we wipe his board and then, start bleeding cards from his hand, and then we sort of go in for the strike. Okay, so he's going to swing in Perona, which I absolutely love. Whenever I play Dofi, I always swing Perona, and it just confuses people. We get the Sol trigger, which is sick, so we just block the Weevil swing, so our life is pretty healthy. We try to just either get rid of his board or just wipe cards from his hand. We're going to play out the Yamato to get an extra life and then just pop a body, pop the bigger body, Weevil, and then we're going to try and KO this Weevil. He's either going to save this and lose his entire hand, which is exactly what we want, or the Weevil's going to die and he's going to lose board pressure, because the other 3 bodies is a Jinbei, Sengoku, and Perona, which can't swing all that high, especially late game when we're playing the big bodies. Okay, so we have the Onami in hand. I really want to play the double banish again on the Dofi, just because that'd be great. But I don't think we're going to be able to. We're going to be forced to let go of the Nami, because I'm not going to let go of 2Ks. He's going to swing pretty high into us, so we have to drop a 2K and the Onami, unfortunately, because if we let him take the life, he could just big swing with leader, or he could spread out the swings with Goku and Perona. So I believe what he's just going to do now is just sort the top of his deck, prepare for another leader effect swing. Okay, so I think he finishes like doing the rearrangement. So now I think he's going to, he's going to swing 7K into lead. Again, he wants to pressure us as much as possible. We honestly have no choice. We have to take it, and then we have to give up that 2K. Ideally, we give up the Clover 2K. Again, we want to keep the O'Hara in hand. And this is pretty nasty. This is pretty nasty. We top deck the Nico Robin, which actually comes in clutch. So I will say the correct play here is to swing with Robin decently high, maybe like 7K, to either get rid of his hand and then play out the Robin, and then double attack with bullets, and then just mad swing with the Yamato for game. I don't think I do that. I think I do it a little bit backwards, because I was just super stoked to get the Robin. We do the double attack, -4 Dawn on the bullets, so we get double attack. And then I believe we swing in with leader. Leader banish. There you go. Yeah. So, oh yeah, so I did write this. So what I could have done actually is play Nico Robin onto Robin. Sorry, not Nico Robin. Olivia onto Robin to pump us up to 8k. To force more cards out of his hand or to force his life, and then play the Robin, then play Bullet, and then have more Dawn for Yamato to swing with. But either way, it doesn't matter. He's not going to counter out of 10k. This is when he realizes it's double attack, and then Yamato 11k, and that's game. Yep. So again, this is the beauty of like facing someone repeatedly. Like you sort of learn what they want to do, you learn from your mistakes, and then you go again and you try to win again. We mulligan. We don't get. Oh, is that why it's called mulligan? Because you mull again. I just learned that. Oh, that's crazy. So we tried to mull for the Bon Clay. Unfortunately, we don't get it, and he's forcing us to go first, which does suck. We have the Bullet and the ace in hand, but at the same time, this is kind of fine because we still have our mid-range with the Nico Robin. Yeah, we're not getting the Bon Clay, so we're just going to do a big swing into lead, banish that life, or banish his hand, get a rusted card, prep ourselves for the Nico Robin turn. There you go. So he could play Jinbei, or he could just... Okay, so he's going to bounce the Clover back to hand. So this law is part of the starter deck, 18. So you bounce a card back to your hand, and then you force a card back into the opponent's hand. Which I understand. I'm guessing he just didn't hit anything, and he just wants to keep searching. But at the same time, he gave us a 2k, which is a little strange, because now we just have more resources to counter out with. This, we get a trigger effect. We're obviously going to trigger, then just KO that law. Again, that's just unfortunate. That's just yellow things being yellow. Do an empty swing into his life. We're not going to ramp because we do have the Bullet for the next turn. Play out the Robin to trash the life and then just pass. He plays out the Hancock. He organizes the top deck, and then he finally gets a summon. He draws a card with Weevil. We're not going to block that. And then we get 2 aces. We have a lot of cards. I think the turn here, so there's 2 ways we can go. We could just play out the Bullet, which is what I wanted to do. But I know that he's going to start swarming the board soon because he sort of started to organize with Boa. And then he still has the prone in hand, I believe. So he's going to start swarming board relatively soon. And I don't think I have the bodies on board to swing for game. So I think a better play actually would be to use the Eggnami to pop the Boa and then just get rid of his board. Sort of minimize the swarm. Because we're always going to have the threats in hand. And again, like we don't need to play Bullet. We have ace next turn anyways. So I think the better strategy is just to go after the Weevil. So swinging 7k, I'm actually trying to get cards out of his hand. I didn't expect him to banish his own life like that, because I want to get rid of the Weevil. I think he realized we were targeting the Weevil, which is like that's a good way to think about the game, to protect the board, especially if you're playing Dofi. Actually, there's times where you do, and there's times where you don't want to protect the board, because Dofi does have an issue with maintaining hand size, in my opinion. But if you, sorry, 3, 2, 1. So if you protect the board, that sort of means that you're not going to be able to swarm because you want to maintain board presence. But honestly, most of the time, I think Dofi just lets bodies die on the field just because he's going to swarm with more anyways. But again, that's if he's hitting stuff. Honestly, I think this round, he's just not hitting anything. Which, again, it's about to happen. It's just unfortunate that it happened here. So he plays a pudding. He absolutely bricks our hand. Like, look at this now. We have 2 Douglas Bullets, an ace and a Yamato, and nothing to counter out of a 7k swing. Which is telling. And it kind of sucks. And we get the Bedge off of life. Unfortunate, no targets. Next turn. So I really wanted to Yamato, I'll be real with you, but we just can't just because we're at 3 life. It's not really worth to pop the Prona. So what I imagine we do is we sort of just try to swing into leader to get cards out of hand, and then just swing into Weevil just to wipe his hand, or to wipe his board. Because again, Pudding and Prona aren't really going to do that much on the board, and he doesn't know what's in our hand. We know that we're bricked, but he doesn't know we're bricked. So he might think that we have a lot of counter, so it's a little scary to go for game. We played out the ace, we gain a life, and then we just bam, kill the Weevil because he started countering. That's fine, it's a 2-2 matchup. So what does Dofi do? I think he plays a Law, Prona. Oh, I was drinking water. I was drinking water there. So he fixed his top deck with Prona. Okay, so what could he do here? So he has a Red Rock. He's gonna Red Rock an ace, which it does kind of suck. But here's a bit of an awkward situation. So we have a Yamato in hand, so we can KO the Pudding and the Law, I mean. So the best play here, and I think it's the play I try to do, is to wipe the Law just by like attacking into him. And then play out the Yamato to KO the Pudding to just clear out his entire board. So he counters with Prona. He tries to swing 6k into, yeah, unfortunate, yeah, damn. He saw through my tricks. But either way, we're gonna wipe a body off a board. I would like it to be Pudding if the Law was gone, but in reality, we have to get rid of the Law. It is technically a bigger body, so we just do that. We establish Yamato, get rid of his board, and now he's just playing off the top of his deck. Again, we're pretty brick still. We only have 3k counter with 4 cards, but he doesn't know that. So I'm assuming he's kind of a little scared to like give us some cards, because he could technically go for game. If he like swings and spreads his Dawn properly, he could probably go for game. But again, he just doesn't know that we're just absolutely... That Pudding did nasty work on our hand. So let's see where Pudding decides to swing. Okay, so they're gonna add more Dawn to Pudding. I wonder how much Dawn they're gonna add to Pudding. Okay, so 6k into Nami. The moment that they swing into Nami, I don't mind countering. If they swing into lead, I'll think a little bit more. But the fact that they need 3 swings to win, tells me that they don't have, or they don't see it. So if they swing into board, they're just trying to stabilize their board state, which again is a fair move. But at that point, I don't mind countering, because that just, again, it acts like a taunt in my opinion, just like you have to swing into board. So yeah, so we stabilize a little bit. They can swing in with Prona again if they're cool. I think they do actually, which is pretty funny in my opinion. I love swinging in with Prona. Like, I think it's super funny. I love this card so much. So they do swing with Prona. We have a trigger effect, but we don't have a trigger to trash. And then here, so there's 2 paths we can go. If they had no cards, I would go for game. But just because they have 1 card, and that card is potentially a 1k counter, I have to go for board. Which is unfortunate. But, you know, I think we're able to stabilize just a little bit. So we're going to attack. The way I would spread this out is attack Robin into Prona, Yamato into Pudding, and then Ace into Mihawk. And then just, that's it. Because now we have big bodies on board. We have 2 life. It's really rough for them now because they're just sort of playing off the top of their deck. At this point, they want to play a blocker as much as possible because they want to... Again, they want to be able to defend their life as much as possible. They've lost their hand, so they want to play out a blocker. They drew a Jinbei, which isn't the best. They're going to swing 13k. Unfortunately, I think we have to let it go. Which, again, that's fine. He just, yeah, he concedes. He sort of realizes that at this point of the game, like, we potentially have another ace. He doesn't know that, of course, but I think he believed we did. And then he just concedes. What's crazy here is, look over here. Saul was our last life, so even if he got us to 0 life, like we're putting up a blocker. So that to me is just crazy. That's just wild. So yeah, GG's again to this Dofi player. Again, more matchup knowledge. Okay, so I think we're gonna go into the last game of the day. Yep. So we're just gonna go one more time. They decided to go first. I think they didn't like going second. I think that's why they let us go second. And we have the perfect hand here. We have a Bon Clay, we have a Bullet, and we have an Ace. That's like perfect curve for Robin. But I believe this is the round. I think this is the closest round just because this is when Dofi starts to hit cards and we sort of just start to look out with our life, which again, that's just yellow things. That's just yellow things. So we're gonna take that life. It's more 2k counters in hand. We play out the Bon Clay, swing 6k into lead, gain Arrested Dawn off of the Sunday trash, and then they counter out. They want to defend their life as much as possible. 6k. Normally I take this, but we have a lot of 6ks, so I don't mind not giving one out. And they got the Jinbei, again, perfect curve. It could have gone either way actually. They could have played off of leader effect, or they could have played the Jinbei. The Jinbei is a good move because he's securing board. He's not playing out rested, so that's great. We copy Weevil and then play out the Bon Clay. So normally people wouldn't counter out of this. I'm not sure if it's a bad tactic. It's something I like to do because again, Bon Clay is just going to be a target on board no matter what, just because he's gonna copy whatever big body you have. So it's you kind of have to get rid of him. So the reason why I counter out of it, especially because it's such a small swing, is because it forces more swings into Bon Clay and it acts like a pseudo blocker in that regard, because he still wants to get rid of the Bon Clay, so he's gonna waste one of these 3 swings. Those 3 swings could have gotten us to 0 life, but now he's only gonna have 2 swings. We're gonna swing. We get the Robin trigger. We have the Saul in hand, which is pretty great. And then I believe we take the life. Unfortunate that it's a bedge, but we take it because we have an ace. So there's again 2 routes we can go with this. We can clear board because now he actually has a board, and that's sort of scary because we only have 1 life. So we can go for board, or we can try and double attack. I'd say we go for board 100% of the time, just because he has way too much pressure right now, too much board advantage. So yeah, this law is weird to leave on board, because if you read the effect, you may return this card to hand. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, they have to place a card at the bottom of their deck. I usually play this card in Boa. You can play it in Dofi because it is a 2k, but at the same time, that's why it's weird to me that he left it on the field, just because it's a 2k. It's a free 2k that he could pick up. Like, I know that he's not swarming the board, but like, it's a 2k he could possibly pick up. A bit iffy play to me, I'll be honest, because that's just a body we could swing, and then he's just gonna lose cards countering it. So, like, I'd rather have that card in hand to counter with, rather than have it be swung into, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm assuming he has Red Rock. That's why he wants to keep the Boa on the field. So now it's his, I believe, 9 non turn. We're at 10 already. So he's gonna play out a Hancock. So this tells me he still doesn't have a Grav Blade. Not a Grav Blade, sorry, a Red Rock. Which again, that's perfect because we get another turn with Douglas Bullets. He's going to flood the board once again. So he's going to play out another blocker. Add to that score. 7k turns into 8k. Or he could add on to the law. I mean, I don't blame it. It's a 4k. I still think we take this either way. Oh, we don't take it. Interesting. I guess it's because there's threat of like these attackers still, which makes sense. We're not going to use the trigger effect because it is a 2k and he wants to keep his blockers up. I will say he's in a pretty great position board wise. He has blockers. We only have like 3 attackers and he has 4 life. But look at our top deck. Again, the Nico Robin coming in clutch. Like, the play here is probably just to... So actually, there's two plays here. Because he has the board swarm, we can play out the ace to gain a life, and then just rest everything with Douglas bullets, and then just try our best to wipe the board. Or we could play out the Nico Robin. That's much more aggressive. But the issue is we don't really have game, and if we double attack with bullets, then he's just going to get a lot of cards to counter out of the other swings that we do. So I actually prefer the ace play, and then use a bullet's effect to -4 Don to rest both of the blockers. So we're going to swing into the blocker, see if he... Actually, it's weird if he uses a blocker. Yeah, he just lets that go. We're going to do the -4 Don effect here, just because we want to get rid of those blockers. There we go. And then we attack into the blocker, and then we attack into the blocker again. Another 10k into the blocker. He can counter out, but then he just loses hand size, which I think he does, yeah. Odd decision because he is at 4 life. He wants to maintain hand size at this point because this is exactly the place where we want to put him in. Because now he's at 1 card, and he had to trash a Moria, so he could have gotten back like a Jinbei or like a 2k counter, but he had to counter out a leader swing. He's at 4 life, we're at 2 life, and we have board still, so the board state kind of flipped. The board state kind of flipped off of Douglas bullet. So like you could rest, like not only just for the leader swing, but you could also do it for tempo, which I think is secretly good. We're going to counter out of that swing just because we want to maintain life, and we have the Robin for next turn. I'm assuming we play this the next turn. He plays the Gecko. Let's see what he gets back. I believe he gets back a 2k. And then he red rocks our bullet. That's completely fair. Again, he only has 1 card. If he Douglas bullet, 2 life, ace, ace, and then we just have Robin, and then that's game. So he needed to absolutely get rid of that bullet. So I don't blame him. So now the board state has equalized a little. Yeah, nice play. Nice play. And because we did the -4 Don, now we're at 8 Don. But I actually think that's fine, because what we can do here is we could do a 7k swing into lead. He can't counter out of this, so he either loses the life or he loses the blocker. And then we play the Robin, trash that life, and then we play ace, and then we swing in with ace, another ace, and then end turn. Okay, so there is 1 out he has, but he needs all 4 swings to hit because we have a blocker. We're gonna get a little bit of yellow jank in here, because this trigger, this card right here, that's insane. We'll see what it is once he starts swinging, but it pretty much wins us the game. So he swings in with Boa Hancock. We get the Nami trigger. So we can KO anything on his board by trashing a card, which happens to be Dereshi. So it's just yellow things. Yellow being yellow, KO the Moria, and then that's just game, because now he only has 2 swings and we have a blocker. Yeah. Yeah, he concedes. That's pretty rough in my opinion. And he had the perfume femur or something. Perfume femur. Which I actually think that's what he was trying to do. Maybe play perfume femur on the like once we have 0 life. That would actually be the play. But unfortunately we just got a trigger. Again, that's just yellow stuff. But yeah. So I think we got like a lot of like good like Robin spice from all over the place. The first game we gotta play I believe we gotta play the Zoro and the Robin. I think. I'm starting to forget already. The second game we got the Douglas bullet jank, and then this we kind of got some trigger jank. So, you know, a lot of the great stuff with Robin. I will admit we did get kind of lucky sometimes, but I mean that's the game. Sometimes you luck in, sometimes you luck out. But yeah, that is all the games I have for you. Yeah, to the outro. So yeah, that's my Robin deck list. I'll be honest, I don't think Robin's one of the best leaders in the 09 set, obviously. As I mentioned before, I think the sort of agreed upon best decks are Dofi and Shanks, and then Blackbeard sort of followed up by that. I'll be honest, I don't expect a lot of people to play Blackbeard just because he's super linear. And I can see him being kind of boring to play. Like, there's going to be hype for him just because he's such a powerful leader, and he is. But once you're playing like in a straight line, people sort of start to figure you out. And then, it's just not fun doing the same thing over and over again. I actually think Shanks is going through the same thing in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, just because he's sort of playing the same thing, and people are starting to find ways around it. But either way, I think the fact that Blackbeard isn't like the de facto best leader in the set, it makes me more comfortable playing these boss bodies, Ace and Yamato. I really like our end game with Bullet as well. This is a crazy card with Onami, as you saw. Bon Clay just enables us to hyper ramp, and then it's not like we forgot about these cards. Like, these cards still are very valuable in this set, or in this leader, just because if you end up going first, you still have the option to do this. And then we're still playing with all of our trigger cards. Remember, all of these cards, most of these cards, except for our boss cards, the Bon Clay and the Zoro, all of these cards are searchable by Clover and Dereshi. So we're always going to get something for Robin leader. And because we're hyper ramping, we're only trashing one card. So again, that's one of Robin's issues, is that she's trashing cards too much to get Dawn. But if we hyper ramp, you're just losing one card, which it's not going to be all that bad in the long run. But yeah, that's why I think this deck list is better than the one I had before. So yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to be making more off-meta videos. It looks like a lot of people like the RP Uta one. So I'm going to be making more RP Uta decks. I think the sim actually updated, so we're going to get more red hair pirates. So I'll take a look in that and maybe make a new Uta list. I'll be honest, part of the reason why I've sort of like slowed down with my uploading is because I'm just back to work. I took a bit of a vacation for my birthday, and now I'm just back to work. It's just kind of busy. But at the same time, OP09 just released in the West, so I've been playing Carrot a lot. Honestly, I think OP09's kind of mid just because RP Law's gone. There's no de facto best leader in set right now. It's still a pretty fresh meta just because everybody's fresh off the ban. So I don't think Carrot's the best leader. I just think she's super fun. I've been having fun playing her. It's really fun to just not let your opponent do anything, because you just play this card, Electric Luna, and then they just can't swing. And then you're just like, yep, I did that. But yeah, I think this deck list is pretty fun. I'll probably make a video on Carrot sometime soon. And I think Boa is actually doing pretty well in the East, so I'm actually pretty excited for that. I actually might make a Boa video as well. So we got a lot of ideas just ready. I just need to find some time to record some videos and do some editing. But yeah, more Nico Robin. I'll be honest, I want to play the Kylan, the 10-drop Kylan. Let me try and find it for you guys. Oh, I forgot this was a thing. The loading cards thing is super cute. Lin, yeah, this card. This card is super funny. But yeah, I want to add this into the Robin deck somehow, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, more Robin deck lists, more RP Utsa deck lists, more Boa, more Carrots, a lot of off-meta decks. So if you want to stay in tune, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Or if you want to, if you have any suggestions or recommendations of what I do, just leave a comment. I do read them, just because I'm always willing to learn and see what new tech there is. So yeah, drop any suggestions you have in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.